Hey, what's up, everybody? What's going on? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to the Black Love Channel. We are up early this morning, actually, Alicia and I. And Dr. Alicia was going through some workbooks that she had put together for her coaching clients. As you know, my fiance is a relationship therapist, couples counselor. And as much fun as that sounds like it would be, I found out it's not as much fun as I thought it would be. So, but anyway, she said something that was really interesting, and I thought I would kind of get her take on this. First of all, hit the thumbs up button, and good morning to everybody. Craylee and everybody else. Put your hashtag B1 in the chat, or shout out the city that you're from. I always like to see what city you're from. What's up, Devon Bay? How you doing? All right, so you said something this morning that really got my attention about volatile people and how people that are emotionally volatile struggle in relationships. We were going through your workbook and you listed that, and I didn't know that. So tell me more about that.
Well, I think what people misunderstand is that they think that you can find a mate and have a good long lasting relationship when what okay what am I
So you got to turn toward me.
So I got to turn towards you. Okay.
Yeah.
So people think that you can have a nice long lasting relationship when you're with somebody who's similar to you. We have all these things in common and we get along really well, and so therefore it works. So the problem with that is, those TV shows, like I'm watching a TV show called Married at First Sight, which I love. I'm kind of binge watching that show.
Okay.
And what the experts do,
which by the way, getting married at first sight is stupid. How you gonna marry somebody you met like
they
last
don't
week?
even know.
Some TV producers just took control
It's
of your
really
life.
Good show though.
I think that show Married at First Sight kind of belittles the sanctity of marriage.
Well, you need to watch.
That's a big long-term investment. You don't go roll the dice and shoot craps with your own future. But go ahead, please.
People do it.
So we're watching people ruin their lives for entertainment. All right?
But these experts put people together, and they put them together based on the fact that they have a lot in common and they want to get married. And they think that that is going to be the reason why this marriage is going to work, and it won't work.
So they kind of do like what eHarmony used to do. Like they find people on that show that have things in common, and they look at them, the data, and the data will tell them, okay.
But it shows like that, and people who are eHarmony, they have no more success than Match.com or even Tinder.
Oh, really? So,
yes.
So eHarmony, where they look at all the data and the similarities, they have no more success than people with Tinder and what was the other one?
Match.com. Or even I think Facebook has a dating section on Facebook. So there's no, like, that has nothing to do whether you have something in common with someone or whether you just randomly pick a person that you think is cute. That has nothing to do with whether that relationship is going to last or not.
Wow. Okay. So you said the similarities don't determine success in relationships. So what does? What will determine success in a relationship?
Well, what determines success is how you handle the differences.
Okay, how you handle it. So
yeah.
So you say that there are differences, and that minimizing the differences is not the key. It is how you deal with the difference. Okay.
Yeah, because there's going to be differences. I mean, identical twins, people who were born and raised, who have the same DNA, who live in the same house, same background, everything, they fight.
Okay.
And so somebody from a different household, you're going to get together, you're definitely going to be different from each other in some way. And it's how you handle those differences that makes a relationship healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how you handle the differences is what makes the difference.
Yeah. That's where the real relationship kicks in.
Huh. Well, I've always known that how you fight is a big deal. Like if you get into a disagreement, it's not that you disagree. It's how you handle the disagreements.
Right. So the key is that disagreements are inevitable. You can't avoid it. You're gonna have disagreements. You're gonna have conflict. But what makes a relationship healthy versus a relationship that's very toxic is what you do in the midst of those disagreements. Are you going to yell and start screaming and slamming doors and throwing things at each other? Or are you going to sit down peacefully and talk it out?
Well, I do agree with that. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's hard to imagine people that want to fight all the time being able
Hmm.
to have healthy relationships because it's like, because you're always, you can't find love if you're always looking for war.
Well, what happens is that people sometimes you just get lost in the conflict, and you just like things come up and you just become very impulsive and you become very emotional and you become very volatile,
Mm.
and you start getting angry and mad and bitter, and those things, being able to deal with those things, that's the key. That's the only key.
Well, doesn't fighting doesn't like all that arguing like make it almost impossible for you to even like have a conversation anymore because was is your cortisol that goes up and like didn't that what we read somewhere that you get so
Yeah.
irrational because you're so pissed off that you can't even like resolve something because you're so busy being mad and fighting.
Well, that's what happens when you're triggered. You have chemical release in your brain. But the biggest thing is, why are you going off like that? So, the reason why you don't do well in conflicts is because you're not able to see yourself different from your mate.
Mm.
So, you are your own person, and then your mate is not an extension of you. Your mate is its own identical, I mean, not identical, but your own individual person. So, are you able to individuate?
Huh.
To say,
Well,
I'm different and you're different. You're a whole nother person. I'm a different person. Let's sit down and figure out how we can get to know each other better. Because really, that's what happens when you start discover. So at the beginning of a relationship, you have all these things in common and you fall in love and it's all cute. But
right, right. Very cute.
eventually something happens. You're like, hey, that's kind of, how did you do that? And disagreements happen because everybody's seeing things from their own perspective. And if you're able to sit down and get things from each other's perspective, that
Mm-hmm.
makes a relationship healthy.
That's so interesting. Well,
Hmm.
that's yeah. I was sitting here, everybody, and Alicia was going through her workbooks, and because she's a couples counselor, and we do. By the way, if you go to the blacklovechannel.com, that's a place where we decided to have some of these conversations because we realized that a lot of people were asking us relationship questions. So we thought, okay, why not share the wealth and help other people that are trying to figure it out? Because I think that there's just, I just feel like, I don't know. I think that when you grow up with so much chaos and trauma, or
Hmm.
so much conflict, it's hard to know how to get along with another person in a relationship. And I think somebody made a comment earlier.
Hmm.
I put it up on the screen. It was Nathaniel Hamilton who said that some people make every a relationship conflict a red flag and run instead of trying to work through them.
Yeah,
And
it's unrealistic. Those are people who have really unrealistic expectations about what a relationship is. Yeah,
mm,
that's very keen.
really.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, don't constantly get triggered and constantly see everything as a red flag
Hmm.
because you're gonna have disputes and disagreements. I mean, I can only imagine that a person who constantly sees red flags and constantly hits the reset button on their relationships, you're just gonna have a bunch of like 8-month relationships where
Yeah.
somebody is like the greatest thing in the world until about maybe 8 weeks in, when the you know when you're still, when the sex isn't as good as it used to be, and then suddenly you start seeing stuff that gets on your nerves, and instead of
Hmm.
working through it, you just kind of go to the next one. Like what it reminds me of
What?
when I was little and I would get a pack of like Bubblicious, and I
Uh-huh.
would chew each piece, and it would be so good in the beginning,
And then the sugar runs out
and then the sugar runs
and you
out.
spit it out.
And you don't want to keep chewing. I used to not understand, like, why would people chew gum like all day? How do you do that? It takes commitment to chew a piece of gum all day. I would chew it till the sugar was out, spit it out, and get another piece
You
of.
still do that.
Do I?
Yeah, I noticed that.
Well, I
You
don't chew
chew
as much. I
gum.
don't chew as much gum
No,
now
you
though,
don't
because
chew
I'm
as much
trying to
gum.
not. That's what
Why
we.
hold on to a piece of gum and it's stale?
That's so
That
true.
didn't make sense.
Well, you're like the juicy piece of Bubblicious where the sugar never runs out.
Yeah, you're like the long lasting, what is that?
Everlasting gobsucker.
That's right. You never go,
Oh,
you
Willy
never get
Wonka.
stale.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for lying
I'm not lying. It's
and giving me
true.
a loving lie. I
You are
appreciate.
not boring.
I'm not boring.
Yeah.
Oh
So, but
well.
no, you mentioned earlier about family, and it's really interesting because people who can't differentiate themselves from their partner, they feel like their partner has to think and believe everything that they think and believe,
Mm.
also come from families who do not allow um, each person in the family to have their own idea, to be their own individual person. They come from very enmeshed families.
Oh, so they have a hard time dealing with people who kind of deviate from the group.
Yeah. So if you have families that won't allow you to have your own self expression, you have to be, you have to hold on to everything that the family is about. You're not allowed to be your own person. Those individuals have a very difficult time in relationships because that's what they think is supposed to be normal. And they tend to be a little overbearing.
Interesting.
Hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Well, this is really good information. I appreciate it.
Hmm.
And by the way, everybody, if you could hit the thumbs up button whatever platform you're on, and also subscribe to the blacklovechannel.com. This is where Alicia and I do our thing, but also there's some other experts that we'd like to bring in that we'd like to present to kind of help you, because I know that I think that figuring out your relationships, you should study that as much as you studied, chemistry in college, or studied how to become an accountant, or how to become a welder, or whatever it is you studied. You have to study this stuff because this has a huge impact on the quality of life that you have long term. So don't just try to do it all by yourself. Everybody get some help. So the blacklovechannel.com, the URL's right there on the screen. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe. Eric McMillan says, "Screw relationships, get paper." But
Oh.
well, in that Chris Rock movie, I think I love my wife. I think he said something like, the guy
Hmm.
told him, he said, you can lose money chasing women, but you'll never lose women chasing money.
I have thoughts about that, but I won't express them right
Well, maybe we
now.
can talk about that later.
Let's talk
But
about that
that'd be a
later.
good conversation. And but remember also, he's probably young. Like that's what you say when you're like 28. And I don't think that's a bad policy at 28. I mean, if you're 48, 50 years old saying that, but I don't know how good that's going to, because you're going to get,
I Okay.
you're approaching retirement.
I'll
But
let you have that one for now.
all right, everybody. Well, have a good day, and hit the thumbs up button. And don't forget, go to the blacklovechannel.com. There's a lot of good content over there. And Dr. Alicia, like I said, she's not just talking; she actually has a PhD in this stuff. So she's got some pretty interesting thoughts on these issues. All right, so have a good day, everybody. I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.